What I do bring to this decision is almost 3 decades as a prosecutor making charging decisions, which is what I'm being asked to do today. I have my entire professional life tried to keep this community safe. Tens of thousands of times I have looked at sets of facts and had to make a decision whether there were sufficient facts that fit the law that would allow the prosecutors, including myself, to be able to prove a case to a jury beyond a reasonable doubt. I have personally taken more than 250 cases to jury trial. So I think I can confidently say where I do have authentic experience and expertise is in an ability to talk to a community and to all of you about what evidence would be admissible in a jury trial if anyone was charged, and whether that evidence would be sufficient to get a conviction. I also have a complete and absolute commitment that that charging decision must be made independent of outside forces or the political winds that swirl about in this year and this era that we're in. It's an absolute commitment I have. And I hope that in these troubled times that our community and maybe America has perhaps rarely been in greater need of a neutral, professional person to referee these disputes in the criminal justice system. And so I provide that professional judgment, and I bring that to the evidence today. So the first thing I want to do is talk about a statute in Wisconsin designed specifically for the investigative and charging process for fatal police shootings. Thankfully, Jacob Blake is alive, right? He is grievously injured, but he is not deceased. But this statute is still an excellent guide to allow us our best chance at an independent, investigative, and charging decision. So what is the statute? If it's our guidepost, where does it take us? The statute first requires an investigation by an independent agency. In this case, the Department of Justice, the Division of Criminal Investigations, I'm going to call them DCI, got to the scene as soon as they could. They secured the scene, and they immediately began to be the investigative agency. Ultimately, that responsibility was shared with the FBI in some small amount when they needed additional persons. The statute requires that when that investigation is completed, in as timely, expeditious a manner as possible, it goes to the district attorney in the county where the shooting occurred. And of course, that is, in this case, Kenosha. And in this situation, an exhaustive investigation was done. There's more than 40 hours of squad video. There's hundreds of pages of electronic information. There are almost 200 separate law enforcement reports and almost 1,500 individual pages of police reports. So this was clearly a dramatically exhaustive investigation. And was it expeditious? They got it to Noble Ray, the independent use of force expert on this case, by, I believe, October 8th, 2020, and ultimately to the district attorney's office as well. Then the statute requires that the district attorney, the elected district attorney in that county, must determine if there's a basis to prosecute any of the involved law enforcement. And it is my decision now that I announce today before you that no Kenosha law enforcement officer in this case will be charged with any criminal offense based on the facts and the laws as I will describe them to you now. So it is our decision that no charge will be filed. I'm going to also tell you, just because I think it is important, that no charge will be filed against Jacob Blake in regards to this incident as well. For many of the same reasons, in terms of an overall discussion about this case, that is not something that the district attorney's office intends to pursue. Now, if the district attorney's office does not file charges, if that does not happen, then immediate transparency has to take place. And so what has to happen is first, the DCI website will by 5 o'clock today have available their complete investigative file. And second, the district attorney's office, which is not only going to put this PowerPoint, which is an abbreviated version of our report, will be publicly available, but we have a more lengthy written report that will also be available to the public. Both of those things will be available on a website that will be identified in a final slide here, and they'll both be available at 5 o'clock today. In addition, Noble Ray, the independent use of force expert, has drafted a report with all of his findings. That also will be available at that time.